Hi, everybody, and welcome one more time to El Camino People, the podcast. So glad that you guys are with us today, walking with us one more time through, YouTube, Spotify, and whatever other platform you connect. Today, we are going to talking about, sometimes when we think about pilgrims that come to the Camino, we usually think Americans, we think, French, Italians, but there is one of the countries that's quite interesting and has a lot of pilgrims that are walking the Camino and also settling on the Camino, opening albergues, opening, bars, and that's Hungary. And today we have a really good friend, Nora, and we're going to talk about why people from Hungary are so connected to Camino, what, motivated her to walk the Camino, and also other different Caminos that we have in Hungary that they are super interesting, and I think it's a great option for many pilgrims. So welcome, Nora. How are you doing? Thanks to being with us
Hi,
today.
hi. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And
Thank you
I'm,
for being here. After all of this nightmare of, planning and everything, for the ones that
yeah,
know, I was supposed to be, recording the podcast a while ago, but I went to Italy to walk the Camino de Via de Francesco. That is incredible. And we will be talking about shortly. Totally recommendation. Much more steeper, much more harder, but beautiful. And the food, pasta and pizza. What can go wrong with that?
yeah. I was following your journey, and I was like, okay, this has to go on my list.
It is, it is. So, tell us, Nora, first question that I always ask every pilgrim. How and when did you find out about the Camino de Santiago?
Well, this is quite of an interesting story. In general, pilgrimage is known in Hungary. We have lots of Via Marianas and
Mhm.
other pilgrimages as well. And when I was a kid, I was a scout, so I hiked a lot. Yeah, and we did not go on pilgrimages, but because of that, I was made more aware of pilgrimages existing.
Mhm.
And many years later, my first boss walked the Camino, and he had the Compostela in his office.
Really?
And also a map of Spain, and obviously the route marked on it. And I had no idea what that was, so I asked him that, "What's this? And why do you have this map in your office?" And he said that I walked a pilgrimage. I walked across Spain, and I was like, "What? Why? Are you crazy?"
Yeah, that the big question, why, no?
And I was like, okay, that's completely insane, and I would never do that. And at that time, I was not a scout anymore. I was working.
Mhm.
I had, unfortunately, I had no time for that, and I really missed that,
Mhm.
to be honest. And many years later, I think this is quite a popular reason to walk the Camino, that you are fed up with your job.
The
And
famous now that we call burnout.
I was in that situation, and
Was this in the same previous job that your boss was
no. It
connected to,
was
or was a different
like
one? Okay.
10 years later.
Okay.
Um, and I bumped into a post on Facebook. Um, and the Facebook post was actually, I am huge fan of water polo. Many of us
Oh,
are in Hungary. And
it's
two
kind of like
of
a famous sport over there.
yes, any water sport, basically. And two team members of the national water polo team biked the Camino a couple of years ago. And it was also a charity thing. And they were
Okay.
collecting money, I think, as far as I remember, for a children's association.
Mhm.
And I saw the post when they handed over the raised money to the association, and I was like, Camino, I've heard about this somewhere.
Somewhere, no?
And I started looking. They also had like a Facebook page about it, and I checked all the pictures and all the updates, and then I started Googling what's this whole thing about, and I bumped into a blog written by a Hungarian lady, and she was blogging every day about her journey on the Camino Frances. And she also walked the Portuguese, and she also volunteered in one of the albergues on the Camino Frances in Hospital de Olivo. And I was totally hooked. I'm not sure what was like the trigger, but the way she described her whole journey was absolutely fascinating, and I was like, I have to do this.
So since the day that you were kind of like, I need something, a break from my job, you start researching, you watch the post on Facebook. How long did it take you to from I'm walking to I'm walking the Camino?
I think this post was around summer 2015.
Okay.
And I decided fairly quickly. And I started like preparing 2015 autumn. And I started my first Camino May 21st, 2016.
So,
like
one of the things that it's so interesting. I found out about a group that was researching about the burnout. It's a group in Argentina, when I was in Italy. And I told them, the Camino is so connected to the burnout because a lot of people, they go to the Camino when they are raised to that point that they can't continue anymore. Were you still working? Did you quit your job? How was your transition from walk to the I'm going? Because a lot of people that I met, they are like one day to another. Boss, I'm going. I don't care. But some others, they take the transition, they advise. But how was your situation?
Yes. So at first, I thought that, okay, because it was already, the decision kind of was made in autumn. I was like, okay, I would like to go when the weather is better. I had no idea that September is a very good month to go on the Camino. But anyway, I was like, okay, let's go for spring, and I was planning to only ask for a long holiday, like an unpaid leave.
Yeah.
And that changed quickly because in I think maybe beginning of the year, one of my former not colleagues, but I worked with a company couple of years back, and they were searching for a new project manager because I was working as a project manager. And they ended up hiring me by knowing that I already have my plane tickets for the Camino. So I
Did they know
basically
about the Camino, or were they just totally,
I don't think they have ever heard about the Camino, but I obviously explained them when we had the interview that, okay, I want to do this thing and it will take me 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I started working there, worked for 2 months, and then went to the Camino
For 6 weeks. Wow. That's quite a good company to work for. I don't know if you're still there, but that's quite an achievement from a company to say, I'm
Yeah,
hiring you knowing that you're leaving for 6 weeks.
It helped that they already knew me. We worked together for I don't know 1.5 years, so they absolutely knew me. They knew my work ethic and everything. That made sure that
So that
okay,
helped. Yeah.
I will go back after I return, and it helped a lot that I knew that I have a secure job to get back to, not like the initial plan. Actually, at some point, I was like, okay, I will just quit my previous job because it got worse. But I did not. I actually quit, but I immediately had another one, and that was a huge relief. So I could shift my focus from like figuring out what to do with my professional career, just to focus on myself.
That's amazing. But I'm like, if they knew the Camino as your previous, former boss, they will probably worry. I'm like, if I let, someone that worked for me just for 2 months go to the Camino in a changing and one of the situations, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna let you go. I don't know what's gonna happen over there, and I want you. So the tricky, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't work there anymore.
Hmm.
But I know that it was a very short, by the end of the year, unfortunately, the company had to close. But I'm sure I got
Always
this
fun.
job so I can go the Camino without having the burden of my shoulder that,
Hmm.
okay, I come back and I have no job, no salary, nothing.
Hmm.
So I'm really grateful for that.
I say no. The Camino always provide. In your case, the Camino provide even previous to the Camino.
Indeed.
So how was the planning? I'm like, is there a lot of, places for Hungarians to research about the Camino? Is there a lot of things? Did you were one of those pilgrims that knew everything before going into the Camino, or were you a little, like the movie Into the Unknown?
Um, yeah, as I mentioned, I was a scout, so my whole childhood was about going to camp and hiking, backpacking. So
Hmm.
I was kind of already pretty aware that I should pack light.
Hmm.
And I knew that I had to buy a hiking boot as quickly as possible and break it in and all sorts of these kind of things. So yeah, I started hiking every weekend until I left, basically. And at some point, together with my whole backpack, fully loaded. And as far as the packing list, yeah, I had memories what I packed during my scouting days, and also the blog I mentioned. She
Hmm.
had a full list
Okay.
there to help pilgrims. So to be honest, I did not have any unnecessary stuff with me, which was
That's
awesome.
impressive on the first time Camino. Even, myself, I have, a lot of things that I left in my house on day 3 when I left to Pamplona. I left a couple of things in my house, and I also carry cooking stove all the way to Fisterra for no reason at all, but I did carry it.
Oh my god! Yeah. Well.
And did you plan your stages, or did you went, whatever the Camino provides? Like, were you with
um,
something in your mind?
Well, I purchased the Hungarian guidebook,
Of
uh,
course.
which unfortunately was not the best decision because it was outdated. It was more
Hmm.
than 5 years old,
Wow.
and
Yeah, that the Camino Frances is
uh,
ages.
it changes so quickly. Some albergues were still fine in
Hmm.
the book, but I was living off the Excel sheet that was printed for us in Saint John.
Okay.
Uh, and I still have that.
I still have mine too.
Actually in a PDF form, but the same list that I got, and yeah, it's on my phone. So if I need
And
to give a recommendation to someone, just pull it up and check that one.
why the Camino Frances? Why did you decide to the Camino Frances?
I think because mainly I only started looking up that one because of
Hmm.
the Facebook post and because they walk the Camino Frances, and
Okay.
I like the idea to go for more than a month.
Hmm.
So yeah, basically I only knew about the Frances and the
Okay.
Portuguese, and after I walked it and started looking for another one, realized that okay, there are many more. Maybe I knew
Mhm.
about the Norte. I cannot recall
And did you
exactly.
start in San Jan, Roncesvalles, Pamplona?
Saint John.
San Jan, because it was the whole concept, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you plan everything, you read the book, you are so excited. Suddenly you get 6 weeks off of your new job, and then suddenly you arrive into San Jan. How was the feeling?
Wow, I was terrified. And it was not easy because 1 month before um, arriving, I supposed to fly with TAP Portugal,
Hmm.
and they decided to completely shut down in Hungary,
Oh, okay, great.
and my flights were cancelled. Or actually moved from Budapest to Vienna, and
Wow.
I had to rebuy everything. And luckily, it was a better option because I flew into Barcelona, then
Hmm.
took the train to Pamplona, and from Pamplona with bus to Saint Jean, and I arrived earlier than with the first option. So it turned out better. But when you are off to 6 weeks and they cancel
And
your
you have
flight
something
one
planned
month
and suddenly
before,
change.
and because they changed 1 month before, I did not get any compensation. So I
Okay.
had to wait for my money. So it was a rocky start.
Is there still that the easiest way for to coming from Hungary from Budapest to Spain, like the flight to Barcelona and then moving?
Um, One option is that, and one option is through Paris
Okay.
with the TGV.
Hmm.
And yeah, arriving with by train to Saint Jean as well. But for some reason, I think it's easier to go through Barcelona.
Spain is better than France, not for the French, but
I,
and you are right
I'm
to
used
Shenzhen.
to it.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm used to it, like going directly to Spain. So
Yeah.
it
The
it
good thing
was
is
easy.
moving around in Spain by train is really easy. Even in France, it's easy. Even the TGV or any of those trains is easy, but still, it's bigger. Yeah, I don't know why. I think it's more comfortable when you arrive to Spain.
The whole schedule lined up
Perfect,
perfectly. So yeah, it was crazy. I could manage this whole rearrangement 1 month before. So
And you arrived to Shenzhen. Did you make any reservations, or were you one of those pilgrims that start walking on the main street looking for an albergue?
no, I made no reservation.
Nothing. Okay.
Um, and I think I just looked up the Albergue Municipal
Hmm.
in Saint John, and I was hoping that I will have a place. I actually arrived quite early, around maybe 2 or 3 o'clock.
Okay.
So there were barely any pilgrims in the municipal, so I was quite lucky.
Mhm. Like right now, for the ones that don't know, right now, for example, Sanjay is having a lot of problem. And here we go again with my camera. Let me check. I don't know what is doing this weird thing. This is horrible. We also write down the minute 19. Ah, I changed my computer a little bit ago, and
Oh,
I don't know if is that is the OBS, the software, or is just the GoPro that is also doing weird things. Okay. Okay, better. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay, so you write to St. Jan, there is no place, and you decided for the ones that don't know, St. Jan right now is crazy. I'm like, there is almost full booked. I'm like, September is being crazy. It's a huge amount of pilgrims. So if you arrive at least on your first day, please make a reservation because you may not find a place to stay depending on the
Yeah.
time of the year.
I would definitely do a reservation now. And the
Mhm.
second time I walked the Frances, I had a reservation because
So there's a second time already in
oh
the
yeah,
making.
there was a second time, and I was arriving quite late, so I said, okay, without a reservation, it won't work.
Mhm. Okay, so then you start walking the Camino. Was it what you expected at the beginning?
Not at all.
Not a why.
I had no idea it will be this hard on my body.
Really?
The the first day was a
Oh,
real struggle,
yeah.
and you know I am in my I was in my 30s, mid 30s.
Mhm.
I thought I'm quite fit, and when 60, 70-year olds just pass you by uphill in the Pyrenees, it can be quite. I cannot
Pressing?
find a word
Yeah.
like what the hell I'm doing. How is this possible? And yeah, the first. I was happy to have a break in Orison.
Reason.
But I did not plan to stay in Orison. So it was for me. It was like, okay, I'm going to Roncesvalles, so there was no other option.
Mhm.
And yeah, before I reached the Navarra Stone, it started raining heavily, and
What happened in the Pyrenees?
yeah, and pouring rain all the way to Roncesvalles. And I think at about kilometer 20, I was actually questioning my sanity.
Wow.
That what the hell I'm doing here.
Is day one still 30 to go or more?
So yeah, it was crazy, but I was very happy to arrive to Roncesvalles. And by the time I got there, it was quite nice weather. So the last maybe 2-3 kilometer was without rain, which was very nice. And yeah, I felt crazy tired, but happy to arrive. And yeah, that was the start, and I had no idea what the next will look like. But yeah, it was nice. Along the way, during the day, I barely met any pilgrims.
Really?
So I have no idea how many started, but I think after the food truck that is usually there,
Mhm.
after that, barely any pilgrims.
Really? And
So
this was at the end of May, no?
yes,
I'm like, this
yeah,
is normally the time that you can meet a lot of pilgrims. So that's the beginning of the Camino from, we'll say of the season in the Camino.
yeah, in the albergue there were a lot, but
Okay.
I think during the day somehow the crowd split. So
Mhm.
uh, I remember I maybe have only a couple of pictures from that day because of the rain. I have
Mhm.
one from the Navarra Stone, and after that, nothing, because
I
I
was
I
just
was
going. Yeah.
just walking and trying to survive, and it was cold, and I was like, no, I
It's one of the
hate
things that a
this.
lot of people, they think that the Camino is relaxed, but again, the first day can be dangerous, can be tricky, the weather can change. It's Pyrenees, and you need to be
Oh yeah,
prepared for anything.
yeah, and now I know that,
Yeah.
and the weather is what the mountains want.
Yeah. And the
Um,
Camino has something waiting for you and can be anything.
yeah, but a couple of years later, when I did my second Frances, I had absolutely amazing weather. So I was the weather made up for the first
All
one.
right. For me, my first Camino was amazing. The first way over the Frances was incredible. My last one, I couldn't see 1 meter away of how foggy it was. I'm like, we have a line of pilgrims. Do you know your way? I'm like, yeah, yes, just get on the line. You know your way? Yeah, just get on the line and follow. You know your way?
That
Just get on the line and follow.
the very interesting thing was that we were walking and there was sunshine and there was this, it was kind of a wall of fog, and we walked into it and I was like, oh my God. And within a couple of meters, and you could see nothing and
It's
rain,
incredible.
and it's incredible how the weather can change from 1 minute to the
And
other.
how easy is to get lost over there because that's the problem. A lot of people they think, as I was saying, the Camino is really easy, but people die in this stage because sometimes they don't follow the rules of, the
Yeah,
Camino is
yeah,
closed during the winter, and sometimes because the fog gets so tricky that you just, if you don't know, just stay where you are. So beautiful stage, one of the most beautiful ones in the Camino, I
yeah,
think, but also it can be tricky. So be ready. This is the mountains. Is you shouldn't be going on flip flops and just with a tiny t-shirt. Clothes,
yes,
gear,
absolutely.
water, food, always just in case. But then you arrive to Santiago. Finally, you feel like a pilgrim. No, that's what a lot of people they ask me. Where do I start the Camino? San Jan, Roncesvalles, or Pamplona? If you have the time, San Jan makes a difference. No, do you agree?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah, a lot of pilgrims are afraid, and I can
Hmm.
totally understand that. But like splitting it to 2 days, like many pilgrims do, is an option, and it's just beautiful. I love the mountains. We don't have mountains like this, like the Pyrenees in Hungary. So I'm just so happy to be surrounded by mountains like the Pyrenees. So for me, it was never a question to start in Saint Jean.
Were you at the end, finally get your Camino family? A lot of times we talk about the Camino family, that big group of people that you met. How was your first Camino?
Well, I met my Camino family quite late. The first third of, actually not only the first third, on the first week or the second, unfortunately, I had some very serious foot issues, tendinitis in both of my heels.
The Achilles tendinitis, one of the pilgrim's killers.
Yes, and I switched from my boots to my sandals, which were not broken in. And
Hmm.
because of that, I got some lovely blisters, which I managed to infect when
So
treating
you
them.
trade tendinitis to blisters, then to blisters infected. Wow,
Yes, yes, yes. Everything together, because tendinitis obviously did not heal because I
didn't
did
go
not
away.
rest day. So I was in Leon and everything hurt. I was mostly walking alone. I mean, I met a couple of pilgrims here and there, but nothing like consecutive days.
Hmm.
And I wanted to go to Hospital de Urbigo the next day, but not along the highway, but the alternative.
Hmm.
And I barely made it to 22 kilometers, I think. The last 2 kilometers took me more than an hour because I had to stop like every 2 minutes because my heel was just killing me. My blisters were killing me. And I ended up in an albergue where when the hospitalera saw me, she was like, "Oh my God, how you will walk tomorrow? You can barely crawl." It was crazy, and I just with my clothes on, I fell into the bed and slept. I don't know how many hours. And when I woke up, I started like, what I am doing. I was kind of rushing through the Camino,
Hmm.
and not taking any breaks during the days, just getting there, not drinking enough fluid, which was a
Hmm.
huge mistake.
Yes.
Um, now I know that. And yeah, I went down. I had a lot of stuff with me to treat my blisters again properly. I managed to
Hmm.
like buy betadine and all sorts of stuff, and I started cleaning my blisters, and that felt really good. Um, and I had dinner with a couple of pilgrims, and they told me about this albergue in Hospital de Orvigo, Albergue Verde,
Hmm.
that it's really cool, and they have yoga in the evening, and nice food, communal dinner. And I was like, okay, can I join you? Because
Hmm.
it was only, I think, maybe 13 kilometers. And I knew that I couldn't do more.
Oh, God.
Um, and the next day, we walked together with a German and a Danish pilgrim to Albergue Verde. And from that point on, we walked together until Fisterra. And
Did
they
you took a
became
break or didn't?
we had a break in Santiago. Actually, very crazy thing happened the next day. My foot was almost fine. My blisters barely hurt. So I think like admitting to myself that I was rushing and I need to take it slow and just
Hmm.
have a shift in my mindset, made my blisters heal faster.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was my reward, basically, in my opinion, to get my Camino family, when I decided that, okay, I will slow down.
That's amazing. The Camino always have something ready for you, even if you don't want it. But I agree with you that a lot of people they go to the Camino with that, and I was kind of like that the first Camino. You go wanting to more, wanting to experience, wanting to arrive to the place. You want that fast, but you forget to drink, you forget to take care of yourself. And sometimes that's the thing. Even the younger ones, and you see the old ones, and it can happen to anyone. I've seen people super fit in the Camino that have tendinitis in the Achilles, tendinitis in the tibia. That happens a lot, and
Yep.
the of course blisters for every pilgrim. Those are the three things that we need to be on the lookout, because if you let them go one day, you may think, oh, is this gonna go away the next day, and then by third day, and I've seen people having to go home, and it takes a while to
Yeah.
recover.
I
They're
was
quite
lucky.
serious.
Uh, my It was not only that I was rushing. My boots were half a size smaller than it should have
Okay.
been, and I went like 1 or 1.5 size up than my regular. So I knew the rule, and still, for summer, it was too small. I can still go hiking in the winter without any
Yeah, with
problems,
them. Yeah.
but for the summer, they are small because your foot swells.
Yeah.
And at the end, I started walking in my sandals, because I broke them in. And since then, most of my caminos, I walked in sandals.
That's one thing, we've been doing a couple of, lives and podcasts about footwear, for the Camino. And I know everybody says, this and this and this, find whatever works for you.
Yes,
The
exactly.
average pilgrim now today, we have those running, trail running shoes that they are usually the average step for everyone. But some people still go great in boots. Some people go great in flip-flops. Some people go great barefoot. But the average pilgrim, no boots, no barefoot, the training. But find your own. And here we go again with this. But I don't know what's going on. I hate this thing. Let me change again.
Okay.
I don't know what's going. But the tendinitis is huge. I'm like, it's one of those things that goes on the Camino. Okay, it goes again.
Yes.
9:35.
And it took 3 or 4 months to heal after I returned home. I couldn't do
That's
anything. It hurt in the
that's the
morning.
thing. The
Well,
Achilles is horrible. It takes a long, long time to recover.
yes.
And the plantar fasciitis, that's a lot of people also they get that to walking on tippy toe. I'm like, those are tricky things. So anyway, so glad you discovered and you go to. I'm like, what's going on here? Why is this going on? Hate it. Sorry again.
No worries.
So we're doing this. Okay, here we go. So, but finally, you found your Camino family that heals you better, and then from then you were. Where were your Camino family? What was the situation? Were they like individuals? Were they really walking together?
It depends. I like to walk alone in the mornings before I
Mm-hmm.
get my coffee and breakfast. So, in general, I'm a fast walker. So usually I was way ahead, and they were
Mm-hmm.
behind me. And we had this rhythm that we had one rule that coffee and breakfast at the first open bar.
That's a really common rule because my Camino family were the same one. The first one that arrives stays there. We get together and then we do coffee and breakfast all together.
Exactly. That's what we did every morning. And then sometimes we walked together, talked, and sometimes I was ahead. And when I was tired, I just sat down. And it was funny that at some point they started me expecting me to sit somewhere just in the middle of the road and waiting for them.
That's so
So
funny.
it was really nice. I really liked how well we walked together, and
Mm-hmm.
you can get into that. You start walking with someone and you want to walk slower, but you still want to chat and you don't want to miss the opportunity. And with them, it was just so easy that if I wanted to slow down or the other wanted to pick up the pace, then we said, okay, let's see you later. So it was a really good rhythm that we found in our walking. And
And it's funny
I
how that becomes natural, no? And like groups, the group it was the same. Some people will like to walk in the morning by ourselves, Some people like to listen to music. Then some people like to be more social in the day. Then at the end of the day, we were all more kind of like social. But every day, some people will walk with others, and it's kind of natural. It happens. Nobody talks. Nobody decides. Nobody says. It just happens. It's just
yeah.
incredible. And then you finally go to the closest. You get close to the day that you arrive to Santiago. How was the pre-day to Santiago?
Wow. The last 100 was a shock,
Why?
to be honest, because how many pilgrims
Okay.
suddenly were walking. And I clearly remember that we decided to stop right before Saria in a nice
Mm-hmm.
albergue, a couple of kilometers before Saria. And I think we left quite late in the morning, and just arriving, and so many people, and we were like, oh my god, what's happening? We did
What
not
is
expect
this?
it.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was already June,
Mhm.
so
Could
heavily
be.
in the season. And I think at half day we sat down and we said, okay, we have to figure out something. We want to go back to the quietness and everything. And we made the plan to arrive to Santiago within 3 days. That would mean more than 30K every time.
Okay.
And we decided to go one town or village further than the suggested
On the normal route. Yeah.
um, stop. And we
Mhm.
made reservations at each place, because we were like, okay, there is no chance
Of you are right on time. Yeah.
not to find an albergue if you walked over
Yeah.
30.
35K.
And the last two albergues were one of the best ones, one of my favorite ones.
You can
Um,
say the names. I'm always, inviting people to say the names
yeah,
because it's true. Like
um,
some people, they do great stuff. So why not? Let's promote them. Let's
um,
help them.
one was Banderas,
Hmm.
small village. I
Famous
don't
for the bar.
um, and now they changed owners.
Hmm.
We stayed there when the South African owner was there, and I just
Hmm.
loved the place, and I was so happy that a couple of pilgrims took it over, maybe last year.
I think yeah, it
So
was last year. Yeah.
I was very happy that they could reopen. And the other one is Heidi's place in Taberna Vella, which is a gem on the Camino. And I was lucky. I stayed at her place 3 times already.
Wow, that's amazing how those connections are. When you go to an albergue, and sometimes you will think, I want to go try different things, but sometimes you are just called because of the person, no? As we say, it's all
Yeah.
about the people, and
Yes,
it truly is.
absolutely. And yeah, the last day before Santiago, we were fortunate because we were only the three of us at Heidi's place, and that was really really special to just be ourselves, and like prepare for the last
Yes,
day, which was 33 kilometers, so very long, very long day. And yeah, it was special to arrive to Santiago. It's a huge milestone. But to be honest, for me, it was always the ocean. So there was no question that I will walk to Muschia and Fisterra. And yeah, so it was a huge milestone, but not over. The journey was not over, and I really loved the stretch from Santiago to the ocean. One of my favorites.
I think it's one of those things that, every pilgrim that walks more than 15 days, it's mandatory to add to get that time to think, time to unplug for the last 100K, and get back to that feeling of the first days of the Camino.
Yeah, and that stretch gives you that, absolutely.
And big question, Fisterra or Muxia? If you have to choose one.
If I have to choose one, Muschia.
Yes, you are the good team. But don't tell it to everyone. Yeah, I'm the same one. So,
Muschia is my second home.
yeah.
Uh, Interesting thing. in Heidi's Aberge, the volunteer hospitalero suggested us to walk to Muxia first. And initially, I planned to walk to Fisterra first and then to Muxia. And he said it's more beautiful, and the way how you take the first look at the ocean is more special.
Yeah, I
And
always said, I go first to Fisterra because it's more party, and then I finish in Muxia because it's more relaxed and I like the sunset. I think, the Fisterra is more touristy in a way, and then
indeed,
Muxia is more little, and more, I don't know. But again, this
for me, Muxia is where my soul arrives.
I always
And
say the same. Fisterra
uh,
is the end of the Camino for the body, and Muxia is the end of the Camino for the soul.
and for me, it's the other way around because same as you say, but I go Fisterra last because my
To
body
celebrate.
will have to go home. And this is how I kind of end my Camino, that okay, my body arrives to the end. But yeah,
That's amazing.
Muxia is special, and I got to spend a lot of time there after one of my Caminos. I was volunteering for 1.5 months
One and
in
a half. Wow.
Aberdeen. Yes.
Amazing. So then, as you said, you said one of my Caminos. So you finish your Camino, you go back home, you get your new job. When did you get the call of, Nora, you need to get back to the Camino?
I was still in Fisterra. I knew.
You haven't finished your Camino and you were planning your next one.
Yes, yes, yes. I knew I will be back as soon as I can.
Mhm. And
And
which one did you plan? Portuguese?
no, because unfortunately the job that I went back to ended that same
Mhm.
year. By the
Okay.
end of the year, I had to find another, and it took me a little bit of time, to a couple of
Mhm.
months. So I didn't have enough time for a longer Camino. So I chose Camino Ingles.
Okay.
And I knew, because I love the Muxia Fisterra stretch, I could do that within 2 weeks. So it was Camino Ingles and then to the ocean. I would have loved to do a longer one, but that's the only time I had in vacation days. But I was grateful. Although I think the second Camino is always a difficult one in terms of expectations.
Because you have that amazing first
But
Camino Frances that is incredible, and you're like, what I'm gonna find here. Yeah.
exactly, I had high expectations, and I I don't like to say that I did not enjoy it
No,
because
but
I enjoyed
mhm,
it, but
it's
I
different.
it was different, and I think the English is the only one that I would not walk again.
Do you know, a
Be-
lot of people got that feeling.
because there is a lot of road walking, which
Hmm.
I really don't like, and just a very little stretch in the woods.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
that's why I was not a huge fan of that. And
Yeah.
interestingly, with one of my pilgrim friends, we were um, checking our photos of the Camino Ingles, and hers was through the forests and green, green, green. And I was like, did we walk a different Camino? And apparently they changed the path quite a bit.
Okay. But still,
Uh,
like what I heard from people is still a lot of road, even people that just walk it this year. And it's one of those caminos that strange feeling. Some people really like it, but the average is, it's not one of those caminos that you get that. I'm like, of course, it's great, like any camino, and it's great because you have that amount of
yes.
time, no? But yeah, it's a strange camino. And then after the Ingles, what happened?
Uh, the next year. The next year
Of
happened,
course.
and because I was at the same job, I was planning with my vacation days better the next year, and
Hmm.
I walked the Camino Primitivo, which is still one of my favorites. It
Also
was
something that almost everyone agrees.
amazing. The whole way through, I had a huge Camino family, lots of Italians,
Did you
huge
walk in the summer this time, or was it still May, or when did you walk?
Yes, August. The
Okay.
second one was July,
Hmm.
and the third one was August. And yeah, I was trying to escape the rain, which I kind of managed to do. Only a couple of hours of rain when coming down from Hospitales.
Wow, coming down from Hospitales and rain. That's fun.
No, it was not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was terrible. But other than that, beautiful weather. I love the albergues. I love the whole Camino. Would do it again in a heartbeat.
And then when did you feel the call to do the Frances again? And why there was, a lot of people, there is the two kinds of pilgrim, the one that tries different caminos and never goes back to another one. And the pilgrim, I know people that only walk the Camino Frances.
Yeah, it's interesting. The next year,
The next one.
yes, burnout hit again.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and I was like, okay. I was thinking about either going in April to hike to the Everest Base Camp, or quit my job and spend my whole summer in Spain. Uh, yeah, obviously I chose the latter
We know
one.
what happened, no?
And I traveled to Spain mid-June. I quit my job this time,
Mhm.
and I had no other job lined up afterwards. So I said, okay, I want to have a summer like when I was in school, just the whole summer to
Okay.
myself. And I knew I will come back at the beginning of October because I had something
Mhm.
scheduled there. So I knew I have 3.5 months, and I plan to walk for 2 months and then volunteer. And obviously I already checked with the albergue owner that okay, I'm coming sometime in
Mhm.
August, and I
Yeah.
will be there for at least a month, maybe more.
Mhm.
And I set a plan, a long one. I have no idea where I got the idea to walk the Camino Lebaniego Ivadiniense
Mhm.
and then the San Salvador,
Wow.
and then took a train from Oviedo to Pamplona and took a bus to Saint John and walked the whole Frances again.
Oh, so you start with the mountains, 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 up and down, and then get back to the mountains again, and then relax in the Frances.
Yes,
What a good
exactly,
idea. What
exactly.
a strange
The,
way. Because a lot of people, they go from the Frances and they change to the Bariniense, or they change to the, there's a mix over there. A lot of people,
yeah,
but I never seen anyone go in there, start up and down, and then back to the beginning. What
yeah.
idea?
The first day on the Frances was a piece of cake after the Lebaniego Vadiniense and the San Salvador, which
Wow.
both I loved, and I would like to go back because
How
both
would
are
you
beautiful.
describe those caminos? Because there are ones that they are growing, but still they are kind of like unknown for many pilgrims. So, the albergues, the Camino, the feeling.
Well, it was after having a lot of people on the
Hmm.
Primitivo the previous years. Actually, now I know where I got the idea. I wanted to walk some caminos where are not many pilgrims,
Hmm.
and that's how I figured to walk those ones, and it's tough. In terms of signs and like it was again almost impossible
Well,
to go
they were well
wrong
marked. Yeah.
a lot.
And they have make a great job marking this new Camino.
I was genuinely surprised how good the markings were. I barely had to use the navigation because I was prepared this time
Hmm.
with navigations for the whole route because I had no
Yeah.
idea how these will be
Hmm.
waymarked. Um,
Yeah.
well, I think they are still the Labaniego Vadiniense is still, I think, a little bit more expensive
Hmm.
because especially on the Vadiniense there are less albergues. I don't know
Yeah.
how the situation changed since 2019, but I think it's pretty much still the case.
Still, yeah, there's not that many.
And
Let's continue. I'm gonna make a little. Sorry, but we are having issues with my camera, as you may know, for the many cats. But we continue with this.
and yeah, also with infrastructure like bars and
Hmm.
shops and these kind of parts of it was also tough.
Hmm.
But I just loved it. The scenery is amazing. The whole path is amazing. And I would like to do it again at some point. Also, actually, on that Camino, I was planning to have a detour
Okay.
in the Picos de Europa
Oh,
uh,
such a beautiful
for
place.
a bit. But the day when I had to decide where to go, I was trying to call at that for that stretch because I had no idea when I will arrive. I did not book
Hmm.
anything, and I was
Okay.
trying to book my first night, and they did not
Hmm.
pick up. And the
Oh.
cell service was bad, and they hung up on me, and I had no idea what's going on. So I decided that okay, let's turn back and continue on the Camino. And the evening, the owner of the place where I stayed told me that, oh, you don't know, we have the Riaño Trail over the weekend. So the whole Picos was full with runners and their crew, and that's why I
Oh. Yeah.
couldn't have gotten any place anywhere. So
Hmm.
I made the good decision to continue on the Camino.
Hmm.
But for sure, at some point, I would like to go to
It is
Picos.
beautiful over there. If you like the hiking, it's quite beautiful. And that's one of the things sometimes, that we're so focused with the Camino that we are like this and we forget all the amazing things that are around it, cities, villages, and sometimes a little detour can, when you're traveling from abroad, it's worth taking a little tour for some time. But then you were saying that you ended up your Camino being hospitalero. And sometimes, I know for a lot of people, like for me, why do I want to do with my free time? Walking or being an hospitalero? So how do I decide? In your case, you were able to do both, but how was the hospitalero experience?
I loved it. I loved it very much, and I do have that debate all the
Hmm.
time. And I knew that I needed a longer longer stay in Spain to do that, because I love walking. So
Yeah.
that's not a question. If I have 3 weeks, I'm going to
Mhm.
be walking. But I knew on my first Camino that I would like to be a hospitalier one day, and this 3.5 months break allowed me to do that, and I'm in retrospect, this was the best decision, because then next year COVID and the albergue
Mhm.
closed.
Yeah.
So I was
All the
one of
few that went away
the
with
last
COVID.
volunteers of Albergue Delfin, and
Wow.
I cherish the memories there, and it's hard work. A lot of people have this idea after walking the Camino that, okay,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
open an albergue.
open
It's gonna be
an albergue,
amazing. Oh, look, I am back into normal. Hey, hey.
and I would suggest to everyone to go for 1 or 2 months
First,
uh, first to an albergue, and see how difficult it is. I mean, it's rewarding. It's rewarding.
it's super rewarding, but it's 24/7,
No
7 days a
question.
week.
24/7, and then you cannot walk, or you
No,
can walk during the winter when you are closed, and you have to make enough money to be able to be closed during those
in
months.
the winter. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm good with volunteering now if I have the chance again.
Hmm.
But yeah, spending 1.5 months right at the ocean, looking at the sunrise every morning while I was sipping my coffee. It's
And again,
incredible.
that's beautiful. But what time of the year were you there?
Mid August until October, beginning
That's
of
one thing that a lot
October.
of people, when, as you were saying, when they think about albergue, but again, Spain in the winter, the north of Spain, Murcia, it's quite dark. There's not that many pilgrims. So summer is beautiful, but what do you do the rest of the year? So as I said, go try it out and I think it's an amazing experience for me. I think one day it will happen, but for now, I'm still walking. So, and I always close with this question, and when is going to be your next Camino? Do you have a Camino plan? Is there anything on your list? Are you like me that have already that huge list of things for the upcoming years?
Yes, and actually after 2019, obviously 2020, I couldn't go, but in 2021, I walked the Via Mariana from
Okay, and
Braga.
tell us a little bit, what is the Via Mariana?
Via Mariana is a new Camino that goes from Braga to Murcia. So now the official route actually does not go into Santiago,
Hmm.
because it is not connected to St. James in any way,
Hmm. Yep.
but connects Mary sanctuaries along the way. And it's beautiful. It's very new, maybe 4 or 5 years old.
Something around
And
that, yeah.
the owner of the albergue where I worked was the first ever pilgrim to walk it in full,
Wow.
in multiple rounds,
Hmm.
because obviously she was running an albergue, so she didn't have enough time, and she had to follow GPS tracks, so it was not signposted yet.
Yeah.
Now most of it is, and there are not many pilgrims walking this Camino. Um, Again, we are very high on the list in terms of percentages. I mean, we Hungarians,
Hmm.
and it's beautiful. It has everything: mountains, rivers, just beautiful. And yeah, goes through Galicia. So
Yeah.
Galicia is
One of
one of
the, yeah, and that's
my favorites.
And I think a lot of people they think it's just the Camino de Santiago, but in Spain we have plenty of amazing caminos. Galicia has the Via Mariana. He has the Camino dos Faros for the one that looking for a little more hiking on the coast. That they're incredible to walk, and there's so many other caminos that they're related with the Camino de Santiago also, but some others are not. And I think that's amazing. That you decided to walk something like this. And then what is next?
Um, there was another one. This year, I walked the Camino Invierno, which
Hmm.
was also amazing. And I have a couple planned. During Christmas, I will travel to Gran Canaria. And they also have a Camino, which I did not know about when I decided to spend my Christmas there.
Really? So
So,
you were looking just to relax, and suddenly you relax is gonna go into walking.
yeah,
Interesting.
I bumped into a post on Facebook.
And then people say that Facebook is not important anymore.
Uh,
For still
oh,
some age level, we still are on Facebook.
so I was surprised that okay, I have to, I just have to do this.
Hmm.
So I'm very looking forward to walk that one. And for next year, I'm thinking about Camino Português in the spring,
Hmm.
and because I will have around 2 weeks of holiday, and Camino Sanabres
Then,
for August, which is I know a crazy.
for me,
Uh,
I like to walk in the summer. For me, it's not a big thing. Some people they say, but for
for
me,
me
I like it.
I love it. I don't mind the heat. So we'll see how it goes, but for sure, I'm gonna be walking at least one Camino next year. So and
Now the question is as we were talking before, there is so many caminos in Hungary. Why not walking? Have you walked any of them?
I walked the one that goes from Budapest to the Slovenian border.
Hmm.
This is a very new one, and the guy who started signposting it is almost alone doing the whole thing. So it's not as developed as the
Yeah.
first Camino in Hungary, but it's
Hmm.
longer. And that's why I chose that in 2020, actually, when I couldn't go to Spain.
Hmm.
I walked that one, but the summer is very different in Hungary in terms of climate than in Spain. It's humid, very humid. And it was my worst idea ever to walk in August in Hungary. Lots of mosquitoes, and
Ooh, Italy was like that this year. Horrible
it
with
was
mosquitoes.
horrible. I had to. I never had to do this, but I had to take the bus multiple times, and
Hmm.
there were lots of stretches that either was too muddy to walk on because huge rains during the nights. It's quite common in August, or vegetation took over the path and you just couldn't walk. So unfortunately, this path and hiking path in general, if it's not a very popular one, are not maintained well, which is sad because there are lots of nice hiking trails in Hungary. However, the first Camino in Hungary, the Camino Hungaro, that
Hmm.
goes from Budapest to Wolfstadt, where it joins the Jakobsweg in Austria. That is a well maintained one, but it's short. And walking in Hungary is a very different experience. Although pilgrimage in general is the concept is known. The you are not a pilgrim in a sense. You are a pilgrim in Spain, but much of a hiker.
Mhm.
And the places where you stay are not. I mean, it's the whole atmosphere
It's
is
different, yeah. It's
different.
hikers, yeah. For the ones that know, I've been hiking. When you go to a hiking hut or a house, it's different than
And
an albergue.
there are albergue-like places
Hmm.
along this route, the Camino Húngaro, but still, the whole vibe is different,
Yeah.
and I think that's why most Hungarians who walked one Camino in Spain
Okay.
and they will go back.
Anyway, we will see you back here for many. There's many other caminos to discover. There's the
Yes,
Camino de San Ignacio, there is the Camino de Caravaca, there is the Vía de la Plata, the Portuguese, the coastal Portuguese, the Camino Olvidado, the Camino Baztanés, Camino Aragonés, Camino Piedemonte, Camino de Aragón, and I can go on and on and on. So for anyone thinking of caminos, if you don't think which one walk next, I can give you a couple of suggestions.
okay,
So anyway, Nora, thank you so much for being with us, for sharing your experience with the Camino. I'm pretty sure that always, as we said, there's always people that, as you maybe will saw this post on Facebook one day or this video on YouTube or whatever, and they will say, if Nora did it, I can do it too, and I can go and walk and, maybe run from my job or maybe the time that I needed or maybe just go for some fun. So thank you for sharing your story. And as we always say, buen camino, ultrella.
gracias.